This video will show you how to replace the passenger side valve cover on a GMC Sierra with a 6-liter engine. This will be located along the passenger side of your engine. Let's get into it. Okay friend, let's get started on our job. To gain access, let's remove our upper engine cover first. Now this is just a plastic cover. Take hold of it and gently lift straight up. Now once I have the forward side lifted up, I'm going to pull it straight out and away. Has a small hinged joint along the back side there. We should be able to slide that out of place. With that plastic cover out of the way, let's make sure we clean up along the top area of the engine along the valve cover so no miscellaneous debris falls inside. Now let's focus on our electrical connector for our ignition coils. Now each one of these is going to be the same. I like to disconnect these so I can inspect for corrosion. You don't typically have to do it for the removal process. To disconnect the electrical wiring harness, you should find that you have a locking tab. It's typically going to be on the forward side, so we'll just go ahead and take hold of that tab, gently pry it, and pull that out of place. A quick inspection for corrosion and you can set that aside. Now as for the spark plug wire, that's going to be located down inside this area. I'm just going to carefully reach down in here. I'll move the wiring out of the way here. We should be able to take hold of the wire, we'll give it a twist and slide it down and out of place. It's very difficult to see it down there. Just a quick inspection of that, we'll set that aside as well. Continue on to doing the exact same thing to all other ignition coils. Let's go ahead and take hold of our two coolant hoses. We can slide those out of position from their bracket. Now we're paying attention to our electrical wiring harnesses down along this area. We can see them just behind our oil fill neck. Now we do have one liftable tab here. Generally for this, you can pry it up and out of place. I'm just going to use a trim tool. You can use a flat blade screwdriver. There's that. Now we're going to have to follow this wiring harness along the valve cover. There's another mounting point towards the back side. Now we can see the other one on our application. It is actually broken. That's okay. I'm just going to remove the portion that's still on the stud there. Just go ahead and slide that up and out of place as well. Now at this point we can take hold of that wiring harness and we're going to flip it over our hose bracket. Right up along the top center of the engine here. Now we're focusing on our large electrical connector along the center of our ignition coil bracket here. This is typically going to have a locking tab. It may be missing on some applications. Generally, you should be able to take hold of that locking tab and just pull it out of place. After that, we do have another lockable tab. This one's fairly simple to reach underneath. We're going to gently pull it up and then dislodge the electrical connector. Of course, a quick inspection for corrosion. This looks fine. Let's set all that wiring aside and out of our way. Now we can start removing our ignition coil bracket. Now for this, I've already marked my hardware in yellow so you know exactly where it is. There's 5 pieces of hardware, one in the front, and then they continue making their way towards the rear of the valve cover. We're going to start on one of the center mounting bolts here. This also holds our coolant hose bracket in place. We'll remove the mounting nut from this area and that bracket. We're using a 10mm for each piece of hardware. Just a quick inspection, we'll set it aside. Now we can continue on with removing our studs. Now for the back piece of hardware, it's a tight area to gain access to. I'm going to switch my tool, but I'm still using my 10mm. Let's take hold of that bracket with our ignition coils and carefully remove it from the valve cover. A thorough inspection to confirm there's no miscellaneous damage on this. Now we can remove the oil fill cap and neck. Let's go ahead and take hold of that. We're going to pivot it counterclockwise until it stops, lift it up and away from the valve cover. Now we can see our seal on there. Just a quick inspection and we'll set this aside. Now in that same area we have a vent tube. Let's go ahead and carefully dislodge this. It has a locking tab. For this you want to carefully try to grab hold of the small tab. We're going to pull it forward and then lift it up. You can see that it starts to dislodge here. While I'm lifting that up, I'm also pulling it straight forward and away from the valve cover port. Of course, a quick inspection of the line itself to confirm it's still in good usable order. This looks good, so we'll go ahead and roll that out of position. And now we can start removing that valve cover from the engine. You're going to find that you have 4 8mm headed bolts making their way down the center of your valve cover. Let's go ahead and remove each one of these mounting bolts and that valve cover from the engine. Pull that up and out of there. The new valve cover does come with brand new hardware, so we don't need to worry too much about this. Just a quick inspection will set it aside for recycling. Now we should be able to take hold of that valve cover. We're going to give it a slight wiggle and lift it up and away. It may seem as though it's stuck in place, and that's due to the gasket. Now your gasket may be stuck to the engine. Just go ahead and remove it. Be aware of any miscellaneous debris so it doesn't fall inside of the engine. Let's go ahead and remove that from all the way around. We can set that aside for disposal. Now that we have that removed prior to installing any brand new part, of course we need to make sure we clean and inspect our mounting surface. For this, I'm using a flat blade razor and a clean rag. I don't want to use any type of detergent which might make its way into the engine. If you do have to use a little, spray it directly on the rag itself. As I scrape, I'm attempting to scrape out and away from the engine. You may find that a little bit of debris makes its way inside. Try to prevent it as much as possible. Got my clean rag here. We want to make sure we remove as much oily residue from around this area as possible. We don't want it to look like we have a valve cover leak during the installation. Okay, let's prepare to install the brand new valve cover. Prior to installing this on the engine, let's have a quick look along the back side. Now there should be a gasket making its way all the way around the valve cover. If for some reason yours is not in place, just carefully start pressing it in all the way around, paying attention to each of these areas. Now let's pay attention to the other side of the valve cover. We're going to start installing our mounting hardware. For the rubber seals, you can tell that I used some lubricant. This is going to help it slide into place. Now at this point, I'm just going to gently start pressing it in here. A light tug, it does not fall out. Let's continue on doing the same to all others, and then we can get this in place on the vehicle. Press that down and in there. Just press that in all the way around. We want to make sure that it is seated. Let's get this in the vehicle. We've got the hardware installed in the valve cover and we've cleaned the engine. Let's get it in place. Now we're just gently resting this in place. We're going to have to start in each piece of hardware by hand so we're sure we're not cross-threading it into the wrong positioning. You can lift them up and maneuver them around as necessary. Once all pieces of hardware are started in, we'll start snugging them up, starting with the center. Need to make sure it's aligned right. It's going to want to make its way around here. Let's lightly bottom these out, starting with the center, making our way outward. The torque for each of these will be 106 inch-pounds. Once you have all 4 of those torqued, we're going to go ahead and repeat this process, double checking each one of the torques so we do not have a leak. Now down along this area, we're going to reconnect this line. This is going to press right up onto this tube. Press it in, listen for an audible click. We're going to give it a tug. It should be able to move around, but not slide out of place. Now it's time for our ignition coil bracket. Let's go ahead and get this in place along the top of the valve cover. Now as we bring this into position, let's go ahead and start in all 5 of our studs here. They're all started in. Let's go ahead and snug them up. Now that I have all 5 of those studs started in, I'm going to torque each one of them to 106 inch-pounds. Now we can deal with this electrical wiring harness. We're going to carefully start bringing this along the valve cover here. Now there should be a rearward clip. As you know, ours is broken, but typically you just slide it right onto that stud. This is just going to rest down in this position here. Let's continue on with our electrical connectors. Now I did disconnect each one of my ignition coils, so I'm just going to go ahead and plug each of those in now. I've got my rear electrical connector. Each one of the locking tabs should be facing forward towards the front of the vehicle. Line them up, press them in. After you do press it in, listen for that audible click, and then just double check to make sure they're secured so you don't have a misfire. This one on there. In the center of the bracket, we also have another electrical connector. Let's go ahead and press this in as well. Locking tab facing up. Audible click, a light tug, and of course we're going to lock it down. It's got a little plastic lock there. Now we're moving along to our spark plug wires. These are going to be attached to the bottom of each one of our ignition coils. When installing these, go ahead and use a little bit of silicone paste. You don't need very much here. This is just going to help it slide into place along the bottom of that ignition coil. Press it in as far as possible. There we are. I can hear an audible click, and now I'm giving it a wiggle. It's definitely not sliding out of place, so I'll continue on to all others. Now I've got my last one here. Let's get that on there as well. Now we can get our oil fill neck in place. We're going to start with having it down at an angle like this. We're pressing it towards the valve cover, and then we're rotating it clockwise into the fully locked position. The next thing we need to install is our coolant hose bracket. We have one locating ear, and of course we have the port for our stud. That ear is going to roll underneath our ignition coil bracket. So I'm lining this up with the stud. Once it's pressed down onto the stud as far as possible, I'm rotating it clockwise, it's locked in, and now I can continue on with my 10mm nut and snug it up. Double check to make sure that's secured in place. Now we can install our coolant hoses into the bracket. Just line them up, press them in. Double check to make sure they're secured in place. If you need to, you can use a wire tie. Now the next thing we'll do is reinstall our plastic engine cover. When installing this, let's have a quick look along the bottom. If you are looking along the bottom of the engine cover, you're going to find two rubber grommets, and along the back side you have locating tabs for that hinged joint. Looking at the engine itself, along the top of the intake, we have two studs for those rubber grommets, and all the way along the back you can see those two hooked ears. Let's go ahead and start getting this in position. We're starting along the back side, and we'll roll it down along the forward side. Line it up. Just a couple light taps there. Double check to make sure it's secured so it does not come loose on you while you're driving down the road.
When only the best will do, demand TRQ. The only company that lets you view before you do. TRQ is committed to offering the highest quality aftermarket auto parts that are engineered for peace of mind. Thanks for using and viewing with TRQ.